Jaylene, the charming character in the Yargi series, suffers from several mental disorders. These disorders justify all of Jaylene's unexpected reactions and behaviors. In this video, we're going to put Jaylene's strange mental problems and the root of these problems under scrutiny. In psychology, we have a term called a schema, which explains the reason for all of Jaylene's behaviors. Schemas are mental patterns consisting of intertwined emotions and thoughts which develop in our minds and personalities since childhood, and they can affect how we see the world and affect all of our relationships. Schemas develop due to bad childhood experiences and failure to meet childhood needs. Jaylene's most important schemas are mistrust and abuse schema and emotional deprivation schema. Well, the individual with mistrust and abuse schema always believes that others are trying to harm him or her and therefore builds a strong defensive wall around themselves. These people have limited relationships and their relationships with others are with suspicion. They usually have a limited circle of friends, and to deal with this schema, they avoid being with other people. In the series, we see that Jaylene does not trust anyone, either at work or in her personal life, or gaining her trust takes too much time. For example, although she was aware of Ilgaz's honesty, she still did not trust him and rejected him. Or even she doesn't trust her older sister in caring for their mother. Her small circle of friends when she was kicked out of the house by her father and had nowhere to go further confirms this. Another way to deal with this schema is through extreme compensation. In some cases, those with mistrust schema become abusers themselves because they believe that they should harm others before others harm them. For example, in some scenes from the series, we find that Jaylene does not even refrain from abusing others for her own benefit, especially in her job. And sometimes even people close to her are not spared this behavior and they feel played and deceived. As in episode 9 of the series, we see that despite her friendship and close relationship with Ilgaz, Jaylene takes pictures of one of Ilgaz's files when she's alone in his office so that by the information she stole, she'll be able to become the representative and attorney of the hospital which was sued. But what are the origins of Jaylene's schemas? The reasons for developing these schemas in Jaylene are related to her family history. Jaylene's father was imprisoned innocently, and in his absence, Jaylene feels in charge and the responsibility of the family and supporting the weaker members of the family falls on her shoulders because her mother not only can't be responsible and in charge of the family on her own, but also she can't burden Jaylene more by her passivity and illness. This unstable home environment and her father being framed for no particular reason, which Jaylene is fully aware of, are the cause of developing the mistrust and abuse schema in her. Jaylene's other evident schema is the emotional deprivation schema. As we said, Jaylene's father would spend only 6 months a year at home because of his job as a sea captain, and Jaylene was deprived of his love and support because of these long-term separations from her father. And her mother could not show much love to her children because of her own personality weaknesses. Also, during the series, we see that despite the fact that Jaylene is the pillar of the family, she is not well understood by her family members and is criticized by them. Like the moment after the murder of her younger sister Inji, she decides not to be passive and started pursuing the case and Inji's killer, but faces her older sister's anger, asking her why she wants to leave the family alone at such horrible times and even blames Jaylene for Inji's death. With emotional needs not met and lack of understanding by those around her, Jaylene constantly feels lonely and misunderstood, which is basically the sign of the emotional deprivation schema. In fact, this emotional deprivation schema has two sides in Jaylene's life. First, Jaylene seeks to compensate for this lack of love and support in the wake of what has happened in her life, so she becomes a lawyer, which is a very powerful job position, and does everything she can to succeed. She doesn't hesitate to do anything to win her cases, from making a fuss to obtaining information in risky ways which may lead to ending her career, like using her mobile phone as a voice recorder and putting it in the prosecutor's office. stealing or even destroying documents that help acquit her client, or stealing the toothbrushes and taking them out from the trash again, or snatching the embedded drugs of Chinar's room from Ilgaz and destroying them. Jaylene's clothing, which often has a masculine theme, and her tendency to suppress her sadness and sorrow, which according to her are related to weakness, and turning them into anger are also signs of this extreme compensation. Even when grieving for her sister, she preferred to be angry instead of crying and accepting her sorrow, turning this feeling into fuel to find the killer. This extreme compensation of the emotional deprivation schema and her particular coping style allows her to show a strong version of herself to the world and compensate for the cruelties she has already suffered. And the admirations and encouragement of others for her enforces this style of behavior of hers even more. Another way of action and behavior that Jaylene has adopted to deal with this emotional deprivation schema is avoidance. Because of the lack of love and support that she's lived with, she now feels empty and worthless. This is often mentioned throughout the series, such as when Jaylene refuses to have feelings for Ilgaz and turns away from him. People with the emotional deprivation schema often do not know what their inner problem is and where the feelings they are experiencing come from. They generally experience a vague sense of depression, sadness, and grief. As we have seen in the series, Jaylene is upset and angry with herself more than ever because of escaping her feelings for Ilgaz. To see the analysis of other characters of the series, follow the YouTube channel Science for Dummies and stay tuned.